We are going to go right now to the Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi, who's visiting victims and families who were affected by the Boksburg blast. Let's go to that now.
DG, together with the acting HOD of the Department of Health. As Ella indicated, we are joined by ward councillors, chaplains, and representatives of various families, and I want to thank the family for agreeing to speak to us. The last 48 hours have been a difficult moment, extremely difficult. Yesterday, we started this painful journey of visiting literally all the families, especially the families of the deceased and those that are missing. The difficultness of the entire exercise is that when we entered one family yesterday, while we were visiting them, then they received the news of the passing on of an additional family member. And it makes the task extremely difficult. Sadly, the numbers are climbing. They are climbing at a disturbing rate. And we've agreed now that only the numbers that have been verified by the police will be publicized so that there is a center that can account for the numbers. I just had a session with the provincial commissioner on two matters. The first one, obviously, is the driver that has been released by the police, and the second one was on the number of deceased. In terms of numbers, police have now confirmed that we are standing at 26. So we've lost 26 people out of the tragedy. And you can see now it's becoming difficult by day. And we are trying our utmost best to visit all the families. We developed a group of 3 members of the provincial cabinet. I'm leading the other group, the MEC responsible for social development. Mbali Hlophe is leading another group together with the municipality so that we can try and visit all families. But you can see that the numbers are huge now, so we have to visit them before they can make decisions in terms of bereavement. The family we have just visited now, they've decided to bury this Friday, just through religious commitments. And the earlier family that we visited this morning, they are going to bury on Sunday. We visited another family yesterday. They've pleaded with government that they want to take the 4 deceased to Malawi. The team is making the arrangements to take them to Malawi. And we've got other families that we're still going to visit. It's indeed with a heavy heart, good people, that the said driver was released. I immediately sought an explanation from the police and the NPA, and they gave me a detailed explanation. One being that if a person had been arrested, they need to appear within 48 hours. And they are of the view that the evidence that they have, it will be extremely difficult to have the necessary documentation that can make the judge or the magistrate to take a decision. They are only ready with one charge of reckless driving and also destroying state property, and they really believe that with the number of deceased, it might be a lighter charge, and they really want to gather the necessary evidence, and the owner of the truck is cooperating of the information that they need, and they are of the view that the suspect will reappear in court later this week after they've gathered all the relevant. I've accepted the explanation, but I've indicated that they need to move with speed. The families need answers, and as we visit these families, it becomes difficult for us to postpone the explanation. So the provincial commissioner assured me that they're moving. They've strengthened the team, because I've also requested that they add additional personnel in gathering the necessary evidence that they need. and they've assured me that they will do that so that we can conclude and ensure that this matter is properly rolled to the courts and then it can be taken. We continue to extend our sincerest condolences to the families, especially those that passed on in the last 48 hours. I've indicated that the last 48 hours were difficult 48 hours. As we're getting reports of people passing on when we are still briefing families. So we will continue to give support. And I'm standby. I've asked the Director General of the department to also be standby. Where we feel that things are moving slowly, we are prepared to appoint, because the constitution of the country empowers me as the Premier of this province to appoint a commission of inquiry on this matter. I'm ready to do so if I sense that there is a delay one or another, because I owe it to these families to give them answers, and I can't allow something that will drag. So I'm considering that aspect. The legal teams are working on it so that we can get the preliminary report that we can share with families. But we'll give the police chance to do their work. We'll give the NPA a chance to do their work. And we'll also give the municipality a chance to do their work. But where we sense there might be an unreasonable delay, we're of the view that we have to intervene as a provincial government and attend to these matters. So we are saddened, we are in deep pain. It's a disaster that we can't explain. And we still have 2 people that are unaccounted for, that are still missing. At least of the 4 that we're missing, 2 are now declared dead. So we are left with 2. And those that are still in hospital, we wish them a speedy recovery. Our intention was also to visit the firefighters that were injured at the scene. And the municipality advised us that because of the nature of their injuries, they felt that we should delay the visit so that we don't harm them further. We've accepted that view. Now that we are finalizing the visit of the families, we will then deal with those that are still in hospital so that we can also visit them. But to the families of the deceased, we share their pain, we share their grief, and we'll be with them as government. That is why I felt I should visit personally. I felt I can't just send a message or send flowers or just send officials of government. I felt I need to be with these families, and I'm continuing with those visits and just to demonstrate the side of government that we share their grief and we share their pain. We still have 9 of our own government officials that have passed on, so we will continue visiting them so that we can communicate how we feel and the support that we're going to give. So I will allow the family to come in so that they can also express how they feel.
Lebitso la ka ke nna Michael Sedibe.
O ka hlalosa fela hore le ba lelapa di ikutlwa bang ka se se diragetseng. Yes, le feedback e le fumane ho tswa ho premier ka feedback e fumane ho maponesa.
Sa pele ka re thabetsa ho le go ba le yena ka ro thega wa re thega wa re matlafatsa hore at least re timo eng ka ba se se diregileng se ka ba se diregile te bana ba babedi mo sepetleleng seo ka bana go na le ngwana o mongwe o a berekang gona mo o mogolo o ke le bontshitseng yena o sebetsa gona mo sepetlele ba sebetsa boshego o a sebetsa motshegara ba rile bana ka 7 o'clock ya le instead ya gore a o la ga ntseleng gore a tlo re lebiwa o la o ile a ema ganyane kwa woteng ke ra ba ile ba ema ganyane kwa woteng mo ile gore ge ba etswa incident e tlhaga e ka be ba affectile le yana mosimane o ileng khatliso magopane e bia ka le tlhogonolo o ile a tswa ka morago ga nako mo ile ra ka affectega empa se sona se re utlwisa botlhoko haholo mara a gona se re ka se dirang se ka godimo ga maatla a rena.
Yes. Are there any questions maybe to the Premier?
Premier condolences. Premier, what do you think upon hearing the news that the driver, as it was expected, to appear in court, hearing the appear in court as expected? What do you think Gauteng resident would react, particularly upon hearing those news? That will that hamper the relationship between residents and the police, or will that strengthen the relationship between the police, NPA, and citizens of Gauteng?
Well, to be quite frank, it's in the best interest of justice that was released. As I indicated, the only evidence the police have, because we've been on holidays since when, so the only evidence that they've managed to gather was that one of reckless driving and destruction of public property. And you know, with now 26 lives lost, that won't be a case that South Africans would have expected. So the police took me through the evidence that they still need to gather, that they feel that the charge of murder should be the primary charge that should push. Because I think South Africans will be disappointed that the only charge that can be taken to court will be the charge of reckless driving, whereas people have lost their lives. And for them to do that, there are forensic reports that they need, and they're dealing with almost 26 bodies now. And for them to do that, they need to get a certain report from the company, and they could only engage the company this morning. And for that to do that as well, they have to also make analysis of the chemical that was carried, and also get engineers that will be in a position to give them the reports that they can utilize to court. So they're basically trying to tighten their case more than any other thing. As I've said, I've also registered my disappointment, but when they explained it to me, I felt it's a legitimate way, and then we gave them until Friday to re-enroll the case. So they've committed themselves that by Friday they will re-enroll the case because they feel they would have gathered the necessary evidence. But most importantly, they've strengthened the number of investigators. So I'm very worried. I mean, we've got almost 26 bodies piling up. You need more personnel to deal with that aspect. So they've assured me that they've added the personnel. But we are standby as well as the provincial government in case there are further delays. Because I owe it to society, I owe it to the families as well to give them the necessary answers. So it's very difficult to come here and say, I don't know, whereas we are government. So we, if we don't know, where will the family get the answers? So we have to provide the answer. So I'm monitoring it personally. I've been on this matter ever since the incident happened. We've unleashed all the relevant resources as a state to assist the families, but also to assist the police on this matter. So with the explanation, I really believe that they will re-enroll the matter and then we'll get. The good thing is that the said individual, the driver, is cooperating fully, and the company is cooperating fully. Actually, the company has made presentations to me personally. They want to play a certain role, and I said to them, let's get the investigation going first. Let them cooperate with the investigation. But they're willing, for example, to assist families with burial. They're willing to provide the relevant information that the police need. So we're not dealing with people that are difficult. We're dealing with people that are cooperating. So as much as they are cooperating, I really believe that the police will crack the matter and they can be in a position to re-enroll the matter.
Secondly, Premier, there's no question. Personally, who do you think should be held liable for this fatality? Should it be the driver or the owner of the company, or both?
I represent the state. I don't represent my view, and I don't want to prejudge. Let's allow those that are experts in gathering the evidence to do that, because I think if the matter is with the judges and with the courts, if I do that and prejudge, they can use my information to say I've prejudged people before they even went to trial. Because I represent government, I represent an institution. So let's not enter that space. I think let's allow those that can make that pronouncement to do that pronouncement.
Could we just ask Malume to perhaps respond to the fact that the driver has been released? How does that make you feel as a family?
ha re le kwa forensic maabane ba ile ba re tlhalosetsa gore driver e rilisitswe ebja re emetse molao gore seo ka se dira kae ga rena se re ka se dirang re le rena fela.
Premier, I know it's a daunting task for you.
Yeah.
What is your message? What did you deliver to the bereaved families? Your message. What are you saying to them?
Right. It's an uphill, my brother. I want to be honest with you. You know, to confront these families, well, they're looking for answers and can't provide answers. It becomes extremely difficult and painful. The grief is unmeasurable. These families are gutted, especially those that have gone to see their loved ones in the state that they're in. I mean, Michael Steve just explained when they went to see the body and they were of the view that they have to bury the body as quickly as possible because the state of the body is not something that they can prolong. So to come and express your grief, message of support, it becomes, I'm sorry to use the word, it becomes shallow because the pain is beyond measurable and people need answers. But because we are leaders, we have to carry them along. And I'm grateful that there's no single family that has either chased us away or not appreciated our intervention. But it's a painful thing, it's a difficult task that I don't take it lightly, and it becomes extremely difficult to confront families and share their grief and wish that they're strong, especially when children are involved as well. Because when you have children involved, the situation becomes unbearable. But we'll soldier on. This is a task that has been assigned to us, and we have to carry it.
Sorry, can I just ask two questions? I'm not sure if you answered this, Premier. I couldn't hear properly, but how many people are in hospital and possibly in critical condition because of this? And Nahawu Union has called for the hospital to be closed and for patients to be moved as well as staff because of the mental impact that many of them are facing because of what happened. Is this a consideration and a possibility? I know this might be specifically for Gauteng Health, but as the Premier, maybe those two questions, please.
For now, with the missing people and those that are injured and those that are passed on, it becomes extremely difficult to give the exact figure. So I've established just a committee to consolidate all this information chaired by our DG. It's a technical committee that has been just getting us the relevant information. I think Mdalitali and the team will give you those figures after the. To close an hospital is not an easy task. It's a very difficult thing. But to have a casualty that is not working, you have indirectly closed the hospital because casualty is the heartbeat of the hospital. I've been assured by MEC Maile that there are areas of the hospital that can be reopened. And by Friday, they've concluded that part. Already critical patients have been moved to other hospitals so that they can be attended to. But I'm not in favor of closing or shutting down the hospital, especially after I've received the structural engineer's report that says that the structures remain intact. And on the basis of that, I'm very reluctant to have another trauma of patients that need to be moved to one area to another area. But we've got until Friday to make the thorough assessment. But I welcome the view of Nahawu or any other institution because they work in that environment, so they're better placed. So we'll engage with them. But where I stand, and after I've seen the engineer's report, I'm of the view that we just have to move with speed to clear the debris, fix the ceilings that are fallen, and ensure that the hospital is reopened as quickly as possible.
My parting two questions. Firstly, Premier, what's your reaction on speculations that this was an act of sabotage? Second question was that I heard you mentioning that you are considering a commission of inquiry. We know that your predecessor once had a commission of inquiry on life is demand, and to this date no one has been held liable. Is this another recurrence of what happened to life is demand, or to another talk shop, or do you promise that this one should you establish it as well?
Well, I think you're making a wrong example of life as demand. People have been held accountable. People are in court now. As I'm speaking to you, and the patients and affected families have been paid by the government.
Yes.
So it was not a talk shop, there were results, and those results have been implemented. I think the only outstanding thing is a memorial stone that the team is working with. So all the recommendation of Judge Musanek has been met. So there's never been a talk show. We are stand by in case, because as I have to explain to families, and I'm avoiding that, to come here, do a talk show, whereas I have the power to investigate and give answers to families. So that's the part. But police have assured me, and the NPA have assured me, that they've got all the corners of this particular matter checked, and they will be in a position to give us a report. We're just saying, in case they don't, we will be in a position to step in and come in and get that information. But sure, it's not going to be a talk shop. It's just for us to get the basic things. One of the things what we are asking, was it an act of sabotage? I can't say. What I know from the expert is that, and which is something that can't bring back the deceased, is that that bridge actually took large impact of the explosion. If that thing happened in an open space, we'll be talking different numbers completely. And the reason why the police wants to, they've delayed in charging the said individual, is that they also want certain documents about the truck itself, the trip itself, and some authorization that need to be given at particular stages, so that they can be in a position to know who was negligent, is the driver or is the company as well, because they have gone beyond the driver as well to check other people that might be negligent. There are other accusations as well about the signage of the bridge and other things. So police have broadened the investigation, and that's the reason why they felt they need to take it the way they've taken it. But it will be difficult for me to say it was sabotage unless other people can provide the relevant information. I think it's through investigation that we'll get what we can get out of this.
Just want to ask if the family has anything else to say.
Ka ge ne ke thabetse gagolo gore le la utlwisisa le bodumedi bjaka o mongwe wa lona ba re ba thoma thathe eupša ka kgone go bona gore ba bantši ba kgona go utlwisisa dipaki tsa jego gore ke batho ba mohuta mang ka gona ke thabetse gagolo se.